Hey guys, it is Autumn Skylar here, and today we're kind of going to be doing an update about me and my medical stuff, as well as a deep dive into how I came to be as I am. That was very vague, but I'll get into the nitty-gritties right now. That's what the video is for. So, recently I had an appointment a couple of weeks ago with a new neurologist. I have been having difficulties with finding a neurologist to take my case on and take it on seriously enough to the point where I feel as though everything's being ruled out and also that my concerns are not being dismissed. Sadly, in the past, neurologists have gotten to a certain point with me where they will get frustrated because they can't figure out how to fix me, and so they will start blaming my mental health and just completely stopping treatments or searching. So I needed a new neurologist, and I got the recommendation from my neurospinal surgeon who did my most recent surgery, and they are out of Weil Cornell, same as the neurospinal surgeon, and I saw them. And we kind of got confirmation of something that has been brought up in the past that I have been fearful of, but hoped was not the case. So one of the major issues that I have is that I have random flare-ups, and it's not just one day is bad or a week is bad. It is these flare-ups that leave me randomly, like a lightning bolt strikes, and I am not able to walk anymore. I have the increased spasticity in my legs, and all of the neurological symptoms come right back to where they were in the beginning. And this has happened multiple times where I end up back in a wheelchair and I have to fight my way out, and it takes months. And sometimes it is interconnected to other issues structurally going on. And so there was some hypothesis of maybe it had to do with those structural issues, like with the constant craniocervical instability that we thought I had fixed, but then turned out wasn't fixed, and I had to get that whole revision back in January. I'm sure you all remember. But it seems as though, and we've gotten some confirmation as best as we can from this new neurologist, that I have permanent brainstem, and spinal cord damage. Now, this is still kind of a hypothesis because the only way to get a definitive answer would be exploratory neurospinal surgery, and it would be just kind of a risk I'm not willing to take and that shouldn't have to be taken. I have heard this theory brought up before, but I present in a peculiar way, so it's something that doctors have toyed around with the idea of, oh, maybe there's permanent damage and that's why it's happening. But typically what happens is with permanent damage, it'll be at the same level of suck constantly, that you can't get past that. My presentation is a bit more tricky, that I have these flare-ups, whether it is related to inflammation, changes that coincide with something structurally exacerbating the damage that's already there. There are a whole slew of things that could happen that could trigger it, that I lose everything. And there's no cure for that. She put it in layman's terms, and basic terms, not turns, but she basically just said that the only thing that she can do if I experience those flare-ups moving forward, and I should expect to deal with those flare-ups moving forward, is to fight the insurance for more physical therapy to get me out of those flare-ups. You know, even though I've been in this rigorous cycle of up and down and constantly fighting, I thought in my head, or rather hoped, there would be something that could be fixed so the cycle would end. And I know with my other conditions that I will be disabled for my whole life. It's not something that's going to go away. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome doesn't decide one day to just, go away and make your collagen normal. So I knew to a degree that I was going to be disabled permanently forever, but I had in my head this idea that I wouldn't have to keep flip-flopping, or that there would be things that could be done to prevent it completely. But there's not. Now you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with the title of the video? Disabled by doctors. This sounds like a unrelated thing. Well, it's not. The issue comes into play that my initial concerns were ignored when I was 15 years old. 15 going into 16, had a constant headache, one that I still have to this day, and it was ignored. And I saw a neurologist, and they completely disregarded my scans and said there was no issue. And then less than a month later, I'm in emergency neurosurgery. And during that neurosurgery, we have gotten confirmation from my neurospinal surgeon, as well as this neurologist, that they took out part of my skull from, I'm going to try and illustrate it, from here down to here. And that, according to my professionals, is more skull than should ever be taken in any circumstance. That given the information that they had and what was going on with me, I was having, a very severe neurological episode, and it was dangerous, but what they did was so aggressive and is part of why I have needed my craniocervical fusion. It's very likely that I already had cranial cervical instability, but what they did would have pushed it over the edge. And it is also the reason why my previous fusion failed. And I saw my neurospinal surgeon, and we still don't have fusion in the area we need it yet. There's other areas in my spine where it's working, but in the skull to cervical region, it has not fused yet, which is the place we need it. And so, because my concerns were completely disregarded, and they diagnosed me with a Chiari incidentally when I was 11 and told me, you'll never have to worry about it, it's no big deal. Because we weren't given proper information, and then when I had concerns, those concerns were not taken seriously, my brain herniated, and my brainstem was compressed in 3 different places. I had cysts in my spine, which luckily have dispersed, but there is permanent damage that will never get better. There's nothing that you can do to fix that. And that has been hard information to sit with. I have a lot of anger, and I constantly will have this urge to write letters to the people that did this to me, that ignored me or took such aggressive measures that have left me here. And there have been so many professionals who have disregarded me and told me that all of my issues were psychological because I have a very extensive psych history. And because of that, other issues that have now had to have surgical intervention on top of the initial one, I've had 3 neurosurgeries now, doctors completely disregarded me and told me that it was all in my head. I mean, it was in my head, but it wasn't me making things up. I was told to stop shaking and to stop wanting attention and to just fight and push myself. And because I kept pushing myself and stopped looking for answers, I am where I am. And I have so much rage. And that is hard because I'm not an angry person. I really don't like the feeling of anger. I know I doubt anyone really likes it, but I can't sit well with that. I go immediately to sadness. But with this information, I have so much anger, more than I have had maybe at all, ever. And And I wonder what my life would have been like if my concerns had been taken seriously initially, or even if when they found the Chiari initially, we were told to follow up with a neurologist on a yearly or bi-yearly basis to check the progression. I mean, I know it's hard to not live in that past or think about the what ifs or shoulds, but it's different in this case because it's not anything on my end that I should have done differently. It's what others, the people that told me they knew better than me, they failed me. And now I'm dealing with a lot of those residual feelings that I pushed down because the doctors kept telling me they knew better than I did, and I tried to believe them, and now for the rest of my life, I am going to be fighting every single day. And I never know when I wake up in the morning if I'm going to be able to walk or not. And that's a very big reality for me that I don't usually like to talk about, that it is constant, that I dread waking up in the morning sometimes because I don't want to have that initial sitting up and getting out of bed, because so many times that has happened and my legs haven't worked. And it's hard now. I don't really post a lot of content where I'm utilizing anything other than my cane, but I do have to use my wheelchair still sometimes and my walker. And it's hard admitting that there's nothing that can be done to fix me. And there's so many other things that I already knew and had made my peace with those being permanents in my life. I knew that my Ehlers-Danlos was a permanent and that there was nothing that we could do to fix it, but there were things we could do to try and work around it. Okay, great. My POTS can't fix it, can't heal it, but I can work around it. Mast cell, same. I mean, I could go on the list of all my diagnoses, but this one, it is the hardest because it feels like a culmination of all of these years of searching and praying that a doctor would listen to me. And I am so thankful that somebody is now, and that I have a team that is working with me and not once is trying to tell me that it's my fault. Because I fell into a habit of falling for what these doctors were saying when really they were just out of their depth. And I fell for it and blamed myself. And that has led to a lot of issues in regards to self-esteem and trust within my own body. But to know that there are also so many people out there that are in the same situation that I am. But there is a lot of, in the medical community, a lot of the time, if one doctor has done something wrong, other doctors who see that thing done wrong will back up the doctor that did something wrong, as opposed to admitting to the patient somebody messed up. And that sucks. That sucks so bad. I just remember so many doctors after my first surgery talking about how beautifully the surgery was done. And saying that it was my fault that I wasn't getting better. And that was when I was 16. I'm a 23-year-old adult now. And finally I'm being told it's not my fault. There's no way you could be faking this. This isn't something you can fake. That there is evidence of all of these issues that you are experiencing. But it is somebody's fault. It's not mine. I could deal with it if it was mine and I was doing something wrong, because then I could try and fix it. But this wasn't my fault. This was the fault of people who should have known better. And, I'm living with that and still trying to make my peace, still trying to punch things. Not that that has ever been an expression of my emotions. I've never been punching walls or anything. I'm sure that you can tell from my demeanor that that is very much the opposite of how I usually handle things. But there is that desire to just go balls to the wall crazy and just let out my emotions. I mean, God, I should try and get into a rage room or something, because nothing has made me more furious than to know that these doctors failed me, and that I am where I am as a result of negligence. I mean, that's the word. There has been medical malpractice and negligence, and I am a result of that, and I am going to have to fight for the rest of my life, more so than I would have already had to fight. And I'm just hoping I have the strength to keep doing it, because it is a lot. It is an immense amount of responsibility put on my shoulders to continuously be fighting. I mean, that is a lot for anyone. Especially somebody that didn't necessarily start out the most mentally sane individual. So, yeah, that's the update on Autumn's story. And I just felt that it was an important thing to share, because there are probably hundreds of thousands of people that are living a more challenging life as a result of doctors messing up. And those doctors just won't admit it. And it takes years of fighting to get an answer, and fighting colleagues of those professionals to get somebody to actually go through and figure out what's wrong, and not be afraid to say, hey, they messed you up. This is a direct result of negligence. And I'm thankful to be in a position where I have physicians that are honest and open with me and aren't afraid to admit the mistakes of other doctors and other professionals. And I think that that is important. And I just wanted to be able to share my experience and this chapter of my life, where it's not necessarily coming to a close, but there is to a degree, there is a sigh of relief that we know what's going on. There's no questions now. It's not the answer we wanted. Not that there was ever going to be an answer that would be satisfactory, but this is definitely harder to deal with than I was hoping. So yeah, if you are experiencing something similar to this and you want to know that you're not alone, hey, you are not alone. Don't be afraid to reach out to me or to any others in the disabled community, because I am also now, as a result, going through the Reddit boards that I am a part of and finding out that there are so many others that have been left scarred in ways more so than they should have been by their medical professionals. And that, be aware that doctors don't always know everything. And it isn't always in your head. I mean, it is. In my case, it is in my head, but not in the part that they were trying to say that it was. Anyways, yeah. I just wanted kind of an open, honest discussion about this, because it freaking sucks! It sucks! It sucks so bad! But I'm okay. I'm okay. Anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope that, you can watch this and understand some of my perspective, get more information about my story, and maybe apply it to your own. Yeah. Thanks.